A $2,400 Social Security increase versus a $17,000 Social Security decrease. We're hearing two different sides for Social Security of what could happen in the future. On one end, a bill proposing a $2,400 increase for all Social Security recipients. On the other end, a $17,000 benefits loss for Social Security recipients as well. This happens as Congress is debating what needs to happen with Social Security moving forward. Most people would agree that millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires should pay their fair share in taxes to keep Social Security afloat. Although there is one person in Congress right now debating whether or not rich people should pay their fair share in taxes, saying that they should not have to pay more in taxes to keep Social Security afloat. If you're wondering who that person is,
there's rich that take advantage of the system. Joe Biden and his wife actually did that. They took money from income that they should have paid Medicare tax on. They put it into an S corporation, so they could take money that they were from paid speeches and books, put in there, so they didn't pay the 3.8% Medicare tax under the Affordable Care Act.
I'm going to play the full video clip of what is going on in Congress and what the argument is for rich people to not pay more in taxes to help out Social Security. If you're ever wondering what that argument is, you're not going to want to miss this, as the future of Social Security is at risk right now. So make sure you watch the entire video, whether you're on SSI, SSDI. This affects all people on Social Security, so stay tuned for that. Before I dive into the main content, if you appreciate these regular updates on Social Security, hit the like button and subscribe for more updates on increases, decreases, bills, and proposals, anything regarding Social Security. And this video is sponsored by my company, YSense. If you or anyone you know is looking to remove negative items from your credit report, I got a link down in the description below. Contact me and I can help you out. All right, let's get into it right here. Social Security proposal for $2,400 extra in checks expanded and reintroduced into Congress. Main poster boy here is Bernie Sanders. We've heard this for a while. As you can see here, reintroduced, meaning that it's not just one time in Congress, but every time Congress starts a new year, things have to be reintroduced. So we've heard $2,400 checks or $200 more per month for a while now for Social Security recipients, but no action has been done there. And I've shared with you dozens of bills where no action has been taken either. Now, this no action could lead to something even worse, not just missing out on $200 per month, but a big cut. Social Security cuts. Retirees could face more than $17,000 in annual benefits losses. So this is if the Social Security fund could be insolvent in 2033. So still 10 years away, or a little less than 10 years away. We're hearing big benefit losses, or there could be gains. We're hearing both sides of it. Now, both of this really depends on, does Social Security have enough money to pay its recipients? Well, that comes down to one thing. Can Social Security stay afloat, whether to pay an increase in checks or will it be decreased? Higher taxes on wealthy would bolster Social Security, U.S. Democrats argue. Although one person in Congress, it's actually not one person, but I'm going to share with you one person who is actually against the idea of making the rich pay their fair share in Social Security. That person is Republican GOP Senator Rick Scott from Florida, saying that President Biden is guilty of not paying taxes for Social Security as well. Therefore, other rich people should not do it. You definitely want to hear this argument. Let me know your thoughts. Take a look at this video.
Let me turn it over to Senator Scott.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, it's interesting that Senator Wyden brought up the idea that there's rich that take advantage of the system. Joe Biden and his wife actually did that. They took money from income that they should have paid Medicare tax on. They put it into an S corporation, so they could take money that they were from paid speeches and books, put in there, so they didn't pay the 3.8% Medicare tax under the Affordable Care Act. And that's something that clearly ought to be fixed, because it's clearly unfair that people are doing that. I think it's very important to every state, but clearly my state, that we don't see a reduction in benefits for Social Security and Medicare. So I have a bill that would stop that. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to get Senator Schumer to put on the floor. But it would be, I think none of us should be supporting it. And there's lots of ways to reduce the cost of delivery of health care. But one thing we shouldn't be doing is ever talking about doing anything to reduce the benefits of Medicare and Social Security. And I know Senator Johnson brought this up. If we don't get this budget under control, how is interest expense going to come down? So, Mr. Capardo, what do you think? Do you think if we continue to run $2 trillion a year deficits, the interest costs for not just for the federal debt, but for buying a house? Mortgages are now up to almost 8% for a 30-year mortgage. Car interest rates are up to a 23-year high. I think credit card might be the highest ever. So if we don't get the budget in control, is our interest expenses going to come down?
No. According to CBO's current projections, by 2050, the net interest payment on the accumulated debt would be 9.4% of GDP, which essentially means, every dollar that comes in, half of what we're raising in revenue would basically be going toward net interest payments under current projections. So that's too much, obviously. And so well before 2050, we're going to need some action by Congress, I think, to kind of do both the revenue side and the spending side.
And is Medicare dependent? Medicare paying for Medicare dependent on what how much money we have in revenues? So if we're going to spend it on interest expense, we're going to have less money to put into Medicare?
Well, actually, it doesn't quite work that way. I mean, the way the Medicare Trust Fund, HI Trust Fund works is, at least in theory, if it ran through its reserves, the spending is going to be cut across the board probably. So that's one reason why this is such a big issue and exhaustion of the trust fund is a concern. Now, a lot of people think, well, that would never happen. Congress would step in and say, well, we're going to pay the benefits anyway and borrow the money. So in some sense, what CBO is projecting is we're just going to end up paying the Medicare benefits one way or another and have to borrow it from somewhere. And I think that's the cycle that we're in that needs to be thought through about how to get out of it.
So there's been a lot of proposals by Democrats to raise taxes to pay for Social Security and Medicare in particular. So right now under parts B and D, do the rich get subsidies? Are their payments subsidized? So like right now, if you make say $500,000 a year, do you pay the full cost for part B and part D?
Not yet. They are starting to pay income-related premiums, but they don't cover the full cost of the program yet. So no, they still get some subsidy. And that's in part because the people who wrote that provision wanted to make sure there's still large participation, even amongst, it's supposed to be a universal program, at least in theory, that everybody participates in, higher income and lower income. And so that's the theory behind giving at least some subsidy for B and D to the high income.
But just put in perspective, they are subsidized.
Yes.
Okay. So if do you know how many taxpayers make more than $500,000 a year? Like if you're gonna tax the wealthy, I assume that'd be over $500,000 a year. I don't know, maybe it's 200,000. How many taxpayers are there?
Well, you might want to direct that to our tax expert here. I'm not sure I have that number at the top of my head, but it's going to be a small number relative to the total.
How many taxpayers make more than $500,000 a year?
Well less than 2%.
Say
Oh,
again?
sorry, did you say? Well less than 2%.
So what's the number? So that how many make less? Be less than 2 million, right?
Somebody's got a calculator on them,
Yeah, it's
300 odd
it's less
million
than 2 million.
people, 2.5 people per household,
Okay.
2% of that.
Okay, so it's less than 2 million. How much should their taxes go up? And what are they paying now? What's the average person that makes $500,000 a year or more pays? What are they paying now in taxes? And what should it go up to make sure that there's never a cut in any program?
Yeah, so, I mean, like, if you want to look at an even smaller slice, the top 1%, say, they get about 21% of all of the income in the nation, and they pay about 24% of all the taxes. That's federal, state, and local, and all types of federal taxes. The one thing that is a little bit somewhat misleading about that statistic is that included in their income is not all of the gains on the very large growth of their assets. So when you take into account that kind of income, and if you look at an even smaller slice of people, they only pay about 8% of their incomes in tax.
But when they sell it, they pay taxes.
Yes, but the problem is that they don't have to sell it and they can hold it over their lifetimes or even
What would you take it up
generations.
to? What rate would you take it up to?
I think that there's a long way to go from something like 8% to either the marginal or even the average rates that most ordinary filers face. So if you look at the middle of the income distribution, they
But
pay about
what would it take to make sure we don't have a deficit?
to make
We're
sure.
getting well into Senator Van Hollen's time, if you could wrap it up.
Now, I just want to ask her, what number would have to go up to?
Well, if we were to just say reverse the total deficit impact of the Trump and Bush tax cuts,
And that would
be
we'd have a balanced budget?
about 3% of GDP. That would be enough to completely wipe out the increase in the debt to GDP ratio over the long term.
We would have
Senator
a
Van
balanced budget.
Hollen.
What are your thoughts on Rick Scott with the argument of rich should not pay more in taxes for Social Security to stay afloat? Let me know your thoughts on that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you the one thing you should do for when you're feeling down and you want to follow your wishes. Then do whatever you want. It's a free country here. You can do whatever you want. So bye guys. Have a good night or a good day.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. If you want to see the latest COLA announcement and prediction of what's going on, definitely want to click right over here as that magical COLA date is coming up very soon, just in a couple of days. Click that video to see what the latest forecast is, and I'll see you in that video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.